So the obligatory disclaimer, I purchased this with my own money. Banggood.com did not send this to me for review. So instead of doing a unboxing and construction and a maiden flight, as a lot of reviewers do, what I prefer to do is a long-term review process that gives people an indication of whether they really want to purchase the product in question. And so in this case, what I've done is I purchased the 11 Hobby P51, and I've used it over a period of about 6 months, and I really like the model. I would highly recommend it to anyone who has a reasonable flying ability. It's not for beginners. It is a warbird, and it is a relatively heavy plane for its wing loading. So you need to have some experience under your belt before you can adequately fly this plane. So when you assemble the model, one thing I recommend that you do is that you reinforce the hinges, especially on the tail surfaces, just with packing tape. I used clear packing tape because, of course, this is EPO foam, and they are prone to tearing away, so a little bit of reinforcement through some tape goes a long way. So an important thing to remember about this model in terms of its flight characteristics is the takeoff, and that is that you need to apply a lot of rudder. In fact, the way my model is set up, I apply full rudder gradually on takeoff, so that as I'm reaching takeoff speed, I actually have full rudder to counteract the torque from the motor. So in terms of the flight characteristics, I'm not going to be showing a video of my P51 flying. There's plenty of other reviews of the 11 Hobby P51 in flight, so I don't think that's necessary. In terms of the flight characteristics, as I mentioned earlier, it is a plane with a higher wing loading than some other models, and that has good points and obviously points to be aware of. It makes for more challenging flying when you've got a high wing loading plane. You can't throw it around like you would a 3D aeroplane, obviously, but it does make for the potential for scale-like flight and scale-like flying characteristics. The plane will do the normal aerobatics, rolls, loops, inverted, and it's reasonably fast once you open the throttle up. In terms of landing, you can land with about 45 to 50 degree of flap, and it will land remarkably slowly in that configuration. However, you do want to avoid dropping a wing, as you're likely to stall. The other thing I found with this plane is that it requires very little elevator for flaring. I find the most success with just using this throttle and just a slight amount of elevator as it touches the ground for a flare. If you're unfortunate enough to experience a crash and need to fix the model, fortunately Banggood.com at the moment does have an extensive range of spare parts, including the wing, fuselage, replacement spinner, and replacement propellers, which I recommend you get a lot of because it's easy to tip the nose over and break a prop. If you have a 3D printer, you can also, of course, print your own spinner, and I actually have a file on thingiverse.com to print out a spare spinner in PLA, and I'll leave a link to that in the description. So if you like warbirds, especially the P51, and you have some experience under your belt, I would highly recommend this model. It is reasonably priced and good quality, considering it's a foamy, and looks sensational in the sky, and for that reason, I give it a score of 8 out of 10.